Right. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's session. We're just waiting for a few people to roll on into the session. This is the second to last session webinar that we'll be doing this year. We have every year we do a series of 10 webinars, and it's been my pleasure to put some of these together. Some of the titles have been my fault, and this one is no exception. We will be covering entry and exit inspections today. Not a gripping subject for most people, but a very important one. We'll be covering quite a few points with one of our resident experts. We'll be covering, as I said, entry and exit inspections, and they get different names. Some places call it a bond inspection, or in my company we call it opening and closing inspections. But whatever label you chuck at it, you have a very important duty to do these inspections to the best of your ability. And hopefully this morning you will find out a few of the little detail points that can add to your effectiveness with doing an opening and closing inspection, because you need to be thorough. So this morning I'm going to introduce you to the lady that is going to take you through this whole process from her point of view. She's very experienced. Her name is Ani Armstrong, and she is based in Manurewa, and has a property management company in that neck of the Auckland Woods. She's a multi-property investor, and she's got over 15 years of experience in customer service. She knows and understands the importance of peace of mind with rental properties and tenants. And she has a very lofty goal. Her goal is to minimize South Auckland's negative reputation by showcasing the beautiful area as well as all the people that reside there. So Annie, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yep, I'll hand off to you. And if any of you have any questions, you can put them in the chat part of the meeting, and we'll deal with them at the end of the session. So Annie, take it away.
Thank you. I just want to quickly mention my 4-year-old is at home with me, not well. So if you do hear coughing in the background, he has been heavily, looked after. So don't panic about that. And here we go. I just want to share my screen, and hopefully you guys can see how this works, and we can go from there. All right. Great. Okay, so this is I was lucky enough to be asked to do the best practice of entry and exit inspections. And so I've provided a little bit of a presentation, and I've been given a 20-minute time frame to get this done. So the agenda is: who are we? Why is it important? Entry inspection, exit inspection, and I can give you access to the PowerPoint presentation after this. So who I am, I'm Ani Armstrong, co-owner of Propertyscouts Manukau. I have been operating officially since 2016, and I was the property manager of the year in 2023. I have the NZQA accreditation with level 4. I am an RPMA member and speaker, and South Auckland Proud for 35 years, as well as a multi-property investor and a Auckland Property Institute Association affiliate. What I am wanting to know is who you are. So whether you are a property landlord or tenant manager. A lot of people call themselves property managers, but they end up really managing the landlord or the tenant's expectations and or their relationship. What I'd also like to talk about and make you think about, sorry, I jumped the gun here, is what a perfect home looks like. How many bedrooms does it have? whether it's got pets or no pets, the number of children and adults that are expected to be living at the property, as well as the number of car parks. Now that we know that there's no such thing as perfection, because of course all our houses are different, all our apartments, units, those sort of things are completely different, our tenancies are different. Let's add to our mindset that we're not here to judge or criticize others' situation, and only to determine what is fair and reasonable. What I say is most heroes don't wear capes, but they also don't wear medals either. The main thing that we have with regards to the entry and exit inspections, like ongoing inspections, is it's about record keeping, evidence for mediation or tribunal, and to hold a public record if needed. Why is it important? So this is a real life example of mine. And on the 16th of March in 2018 was my very first tribunal. And I had been asking for $7,419.63. After 20 minutes of hearing, the adjudicator was the one that I was having to explain to. The tenant didn't even turn up. You can see the photos of some of the examples that I had to prove that the actual tenant had left a mess, as well as the lovely front door that was covered by a rubbish bag, as you know, as protection. What we've later found out was that they'd lost the key, and because they needed to get into the house, they thought it was easier just to smash the glass and to walk through that way. 6 years on, the tenant that I successfully managed to take to tribunal was we're still collecting payments from. But the best thing about it is that we now have really clear understandings of what the adjudicators are looking for. Okay, who had the last entry inspection? So what I've done here is actually give you an idea of the typical people that you would get a entry inspection from. So for example, the accidental landlord is an owner-occupier that needs to rent their own home. In their mind, it has always been pristine. There's never been any marks. But when they see the photos that you've been given, they are quick to point out that tiny stain that's on the carpet from the photograph, and they're able to zoom in and actually provide you with a lot more information as to why it was never there in the first place. Another example, of course, is when you've got your inherited property and or tenant. So you've got no paperwork. The tenancy has been there at least 8 years, so it's longer than the introduction of the Healthy Home Guarantees Act 2016. There's no entry inspection because pretty much this was done on a handshake. You'd be lucky if you were actually given a photo within the last 10 years of what the property looked like at any time. My favorite ones are the experienced landlords that are too busy. So these are the ones that know the law. They brag about the rules to how to get around them, but they're just too busy to actually adhere to the act or the rights, the laws, asking about maintenance, upkeep, that sort of thing. So that's why they've handed it over to you. What you'll find in those situations, that they've got the paperwork somewhere and you never get it. Okay. On the other side, you can see here that you've got the property investors. These guys know and appreciate the experts. They're your go-tos. They're the ones that want your opinion, but love that they get to make the decision at the end of the day. The other ones we have is first-time investors. They ask a lot of questions just to ensure that it's done right first time. Sometimes they ask for public opinion, but they usually are anonymous because they're afraid of confrontation. What you'll find there is that they won't take a lot of photos because they don't want to invade the tenant's personal space. but they will be very checklist. So there will be a lot of writing, checklists, things like that. And of course, we have our favorites, which is property manager to property manager. And this is judged only by the speed of handover, that you'll ascertain the quality of that property owner that you've just added to your portfolio. So when you find that you let them know you're taking over a property and they go, yep, great, fantastic, here you go, you start questioning why are they quick to hand over it. It's not a bad thing. It just means that there may have been a lot of conflict, maybe even a misalignment of values, and they're ready to hand it over. Versus another property manager that's actually wanting to speak to the owner and asking, why can we have feedback? Why are we handing this over to you? Are you aware that you have, 30 days notice period, maybe even 90 days notice period, and that needs to be either respected, so you'll get the information in at the deadline, or then there will be a lot of time between you being told that you've got the property to when it's actually handed over to you. The legal legs are the support that you can rely on. Obviously, I'm a big fan, being a accredited level 4 property manager. NZQA really does help understand what's expected. But you also have tenancy services, the RTA, and of course, in the next few months, as that's going through its reading, it will be yet amended again, and the Healthy Homes Guarantees Act. With the RTA, I've just mentioned a few sections that you might want to look into in the future. Section 45, 48, 49, 59, and 108. It's really important that you see that, because those apply to the landlord and can help incentivize what you're trying to achieve with regards to repairs, maintenance, that sort of thing. The RPMA, I love these guys. They give you good support when you're a member, and with these webinars, you get to just get a little bit more information. And of course, you have the council bylaws that you have to work within, as well as other acts such as the Official Information Act, where you can get reports and you can get evidentiary statements that you can use for tribunal as to with regards to damage, malicious intent, that sort of thing. Okay, here we go. So the entry inspection time frame. We're just getting into it. So I just wanted to really point out these 5 things similar to the Healthy Homes standards. There are 5 things you really need to focus on when you're looking at a property. Maybe for the first time, maybe this is just a new tenant moving in. So for the entry. So exterior, there's things like the grounds, the fences, garage, exterior walls, soffites, security lights, deck steps, driveway gates. The structural part of the property, which is, of course, the doors, walls, ceilings, cupboards, benches, power sockets, lights, wiring, window sills, trims, windows themselves, hinges, lock sets, furnishings. Those are the soft furnishings that, of course, can be depreciated. Or go missing, walkabouts such as accessories, remotes, keys, that sort of things that need to be replaced. Health and safety, of course, treating your place like your vehicle or your property as a PCBU or work safe, really important. And asbestos, if you've got asbestos, a actual management plan is really important. Meth, there's been huge controversy about the levels of meth, and I'm not here to tell you which one's right, but Gluckman, of course, has been the Professor Gluckman has been the head above the shoulders point point of reference with regards to 15 parts per million with regards to meth presence. And then, of course, remediation, which is really important. The reports are for everybody, and a good entry report should take 10 to 20 minutes per area. A standalone 3-bedroom single-story house with detached garage on a private driveway should comfortably take 1.5 to 2 hours. Now, the reason being is thoroughness. Tenants, of course, if you are with are able to give them the entry inspection, they should have a chance to disagree in writing and should always be recommended to take their own photos. You've got nothing to hide. They're moving in. They're going to be living there. It's not like you're just showing them photos and then they get to a new place that's completely different. Property owners, this is your evidence or your report to show leaking taps, flickering or broken lights, anything that needs to be repaired due to wear and tear, or even if you wanted to prove malicious damage. Okay. And of course, really important to talk about your team members and your peers. The easier someone can cover or take over from where you have left without figuring out if, the property was already like that. If, the more information, the easier it is. To chattel or not to chattel. So I'm for Property Scouts, so I'm a big fan of as little furnishings as possible. And the reason being, of course, is because landlords or property owners need to understand that anything that is considered a chattel must be able to be used and fit for purpose. So when you tell somebody that, you've got a broken dishwasher, but there's a dishwasher there, legally that needs to be at a state that can be used. And there are a lot of examples where even just recording that it's not working on the chattels is not good enough. So if you are in doubt, feel free to use the tenancy previous orders, the tribunal orders, and you'll be able to see how often the adjudicator sides with the tenant to say that that needs to be ordered to be fixed. Okay. Depending on the situation, so new builds, of course, this is the most blank canvas you'll ever have to ensure that you can that everything's working. This is your one opportunity. A lot of new builds have a 30-day time frame in which you have to warrant that everything's working. And beyond that point, it's very difficult, not impossible, but very difficult to argue that this was not working at the time you took it over. So I'm a big fan of go through every single room, check with a hairdryer, plug it in, turn it on. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, this is your point where you can say it's not working. Furnished apartments and units, the lists are usually provided of chattels by the actual property owner or the building manager, especially if it is part of the actual furnishings. Usually they're not so worried about the number of cutlery or specific furniture there, but it is a general templated list so that you can work from. And if you're not given one, then this is the point where you actually need to explain why you have to charge for your time to create one. So it's a win-win. Inherited stuff. Sorry, I just missed. Inherited stuff is, of course, that wonderful generosity from previous tenants or exiting owners that want to help the next tenants by leaving that 15-year-old ripped up couch for the next tenant. These are not really considered chattels because they are gifted, but this is your opportunity to go, right, that's obviously not going to be quality for the high standard we want to show. So therefore, would you like me to arrange for that to be removed at your cost? Abandoned stuff is the same thing. So this is where we take photos of it through the exit and we use that as evidence as to why we're charging for rubbish removal, or bin buddy and that sort of thing. When you go into an inspection, really as quickly as I can, it's really important that we try to use your time efficiently. No one has just 2 hours up their sleeve, so of course the easiest way to work is to do a job once. Worst case, do it twice to just run over it to make sure you've covered everything. And I'm a big fan of clockwork. So you start using the driveway or the front door as 12 on a clock, and then you go through clockwise and make sure that you've taken control of every room. You've looked at least 8 points of that room or area. So you've got obviously the 4 around you, the 4 walls, let's say, for example, up in the ceiling, down on the floor. But more importantly, these are when the soft furnishings need to be taken into consideration. So that's with the blinds open, blinds closed, whether the windows are working, the both sides of the doors, that sort of thing. So it's really awesome if you can do that through the first run, and then the second run is just to make sure that you've looked through everything, and that's through drawers, cupboards, wardrobes, especially that shelf that's probably higher than you if you're short like I am. It's really good to actually look up and make sure you've taken a photo of that. I use a voice recording, voicenotes.com. It's just a random AI app, and it allows me to just talk about what I'm seeing, and then I can go back and reduce those comments. I can actually see what I'm trying to say, and then I can make it sound more professional and or make sure the spelling's done. This is also a good opportunity to determine your maintenance, your remediation, your services, heat pumps that need to be done, chimneys that need to be swept, that sort of thing. And of course, house washes and gutter cleans, which is all part of that healthy homes and making sure that that's done. Once you've left the property, you might want to just go back over your report and make sure you've really highlighted what you think is important, whether it's, of course, getting that professional clean in between tenants, meth testing, that healthy homes, obviously updated if it's been a while, and that sort of thing. What I say is this is my way to do an inspection for the twice as smart. So you've got things like specific, when you're talking about stains, using your finger as a scale, or a banana if you happen to carry a banana with you, because that seems to be the TikTok equivalent at the moment. So just using something for scale, you can show the size of the hole that's come through. You can put in the color of the stain that you want to, where it is located in the room. So if it's obviously underneath the window, if you can see that it's on the wall up by where the door handle is actually going through the wall, so there's no doorstop, that being that specific. Measurable, if it needs repairing, you need to get a quote. You can send a picture or a video and get an estimate from your tradies, your suppliers, so that way you can actually go to the landlord with an idea of costing. It may not be the correct cost, because nobody has an idea. If you need to replace the shower, you don't know what's under the floor, that sort of thing. But a cost would be better than no cost. I'm just saying this needs to be done. The next question, of course, is always going to be from the landlord: how much will this cost me? And if, of course, you think that the tenant needs to pay for it, it's good to have that picture or that video to show to the tenant why that's needing to be repaired. Actual, so specific, measurable, actual rather than achievable. Actual is your photo, your video, and obviously my comments disappeared. But what it means is you can't beat or dispute when you've got the evidence showing in front of you. There may be a story behind it as to, you know, someone broke in, which is why the door is damaged. I've got a police report. It could be that the actual video shows that the tap has been dripping due to wear and tear, that sort of thing. Reasoning, again, rather than realistic, it's who takes ownership, and that is done by the actual expert, the property manager, to determine who is the one that should be taking on the costs. And we can discuss, of course, in detail as to whether it is the property owner or the tenant, and more importantly, how that is going to come about. So whether it's coming out of the bond, if it's the tenant and the tenant agrees, whether it's the owner that's going to add some funds for the remediation or the servicing, or if it's coming out of the next rent. That's something for the experts to come up with as a decision. And of course, as we all know, with the time specific, time sensitive, you have a lot of people wanting the report. They want the answers, they want the costs, they want everything from you, usually between 48 hours and 14 days. Okay. Just bear with me for a moment. I do apologize. I'm just going to stop this to show my son. Just give me a second. Sorry. Very sorry.
Hey, I'll jump in there actually. Annie, I think the issue that I have is getting quotes for work, because quite often an owner will want a property manager to do 2 or 3 quotes, and we tend to try and keep that to a bare minimum for a couple of reasons. If you're getting quotes from lots of tradespeople, and they're not getting the work, they tend not to be your tradespeople for very long. And I think it's very important to have a strong relationship with your trades guys, because you can phone them up and say, hi, I've got an emergency, can you be there today? And they're there today, and you trust them, and you know that they're not going to charge too much. So this is my personal experience. I tend to shy away from doing quotes, 2 or 3 quotes for little ditzy little jobs. Yeah, for a big job, but not for the little ones. So Annie, you've got your there we go, you got the microphone back on.
Yes, sorry about that, guys. Okay,
that's life.
Okay, so back to it. All right, hope you guys aren't bored with me yet, but I'll just jump back to where we were. And where are we going with the inspection? Okay,
we've got another 5 minutes, Annie.
Great, thank you. So who pays? And that's obviously based on wear and tear, accidental damage, service and maintenance, and of course malicious damage. What I like to do is, of course, I just want to show you an example of the technology we use, and that's really just about going into so we use Inspection Express. This is the 360. Can you guys see this?
Am I right, Annie, that Inspections Express can only be used with iPhone?
That is correct. So it can only be used with iPhone or an iPad. But more importantly, this is the 360 version. So as you can see, we can actually go and have a look all around the room. And currently, at the moment, you are able to see the heat pump and the back door. But you can go from room to room. So this is the garage, and we'll just make sure you can see the laundry, all the PowerPoints, that sort of thing as well. Then you can do static. So this is where you would use for palace, for example. You can take static photos of inside the wardrobes, and of course open if you're using like opening drawers, or generally outside and you're not using, you want to use it through Palace or Property Me, I believe. Also, My Inspections also have static photos, and you're just taking a photo of what it looks like outside. So it's really important. And you do mistakes like I did, and there's my finger right there, right in front of the camera. It's not. It shows that there is bins there, and that the pathway is clear and not full of rubbish. So yes, my finger's there, and I probably would have taken another photo as well. I just wanted to show you that we make mistakes. It's not about. It's really about the thoroughness, and you can see that the turf is a little bit worn. But the good thing on this one is that the deck has just been painted. So I really wanted to bring that home. All right, and of course, once we're done here, then we'll just go back to that PowerPoint presentation, and then. So this is where you have the property managers will get $1 each time they hear, but it's cleaner than when we've moved in. How many times have we heard that, people? I mean, at the end of the day, you'll be a millionaire. Absolutely. The pre-exit inspection does help counteract that argument, but it's better than when we moved in. The reason being is because tenant stress and encouraging a pre-exit inspection can show them what you're looking at. It's not about scrubbing every inch of that wall just because they can. It's about the skirtings. It's about looking at what they haven't dusted in a while, the fly spots on the ceiling, the things that they forget to actually see, and more importantly, when they offer to come back for that exit inspection, it can be very frustrating because they don't realize how long it takes us to do that. So you can potentially lose the goodwill by not having a pre-exit inspection and talking to them about what you expect. And that's me. Any questions?
Oh, that's good, Annie. I think there's a few holes in my knowledge that you certainly plugged. A question that we get asked every now and then is, how many photos is too many?
Good question. There is no such thing as too many. My average number of photos that I take is approximately 350. I work on a basis that you're looking at about 15 photos per area, per room, and that's going to be vital for you in the future. So the more photos you take right now, the better it's going to be for you.
Okay. Is there any common mistakes or misconceptions about inspections that you can share?
The main one, of course, is where they say vague or descriptive words that show opinion rather than fact. So when they say, "Oh, it's horribly disgusting," that it's not factual. It doesn't say what they're seeing. All it shows is that their opinion is incorrect. It's their opinion. They're entitled to it at the end of the day. But more importantly, it's about there marks on there is a fist-size hole in the wall, and there is rubbish left in the living room. That's factual. Someone's opinion is not warranted, and nor is it required in the actual tribunal. So I wouldn't put it in there at all. Yeah. You'd never put it in a professional report.
No, my experience has been with handing a property over to a real estate agent who's going to be selling it, and they'll tell us that it's an utter disaster and the place is a tip and we can't do anything about it, and then we turn up and it's like it's ready to rent. It's
exactly
reasonably tidy.
That's right. Everybody's opinions are completely different. So I'm a big fan of keeping the opinion to yourself, as because it won't help. And just stick to the facts. The adjudicators love facts because they're not emotional, and they don't help any argument, whatever argument that they have. So I'm a big fan of facts.
Lovely. Hey, look, Annie, that's fantastic. You've done a better job than I would ever have done of this. Are there any other questions on? Let's have a look. You can pop them in the chat or the Q&A section. But you're all stunned and furtively making notes on what you're going to do at the inspections you're at today. I guess that's a good thing. So once again, Annie, hey, thank you. That was fantastic. I think you mentioned at the start that your PowerPoint slides, you can send them out to anybody that wants to see them, because there is some good structural stuff there, which I'm going to start stealing from you too. So yeah, hey, look, thanks for coming along today and connecting into the webinar. We've got another one coming up in December, which is popular property management misconceptions. And I'm going to have a bit of fun with that. So yeah, if you're ready to go back to work and grab a coffee and a sticky bun, then knock yourself out, and we will see you all next time. And thanks again, Annie.
Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers, everybody.